Hi ladies, good morning. Laura Gabriel here. I'm actually on my afternoon walk with my dog Ember, and we're just on a lonely country road here today, and it's getting dark so early. The sun is over there. I don't think you can really see, but thank you for joining me for another day of the Morning Miracles Challenge. When you first signed up for this challenge, I asked you what are some areas of your life that you presently struggle with that you'd like to focus in on during this challenge. And one of those areas was your focus and fighting the real enemy. While I'm out here coming to you from the country, it's a very peaceful place to be. I'm actually going to share some special footage with you from our armed forces because I think we have some things we could learn from them. And I'm also going to be sharing some insights from the Bible study Fervent by Priscilla Shirer, which is all about fervent prayer. She writes, "If I were your enemy, I'd disguise myself and manipulate your perspectives so that you'd focus on the wrong culprit, your husband, your friend, your hurt, your finances, anything or anyone except me. Because when you zero in on the most convenient, obvious places to strike back against your problems, you get the impression you're fighting for something, even though all you're really doing is just fighting for nothing." Now, if there's anyone that knows the struggle with focus, it's us ladies, because I don't know if you noticed, but the past few days have been super challenging, just trying to get that first hour with the Lord. Isn't it crazy how things creep in and want our attention in ways that maybe you've never experienced before?
So let's talk about the root of the problem, which I believe is fear. This thing that keeps getting between us and our love of God driving our day. Let's learn a little bit about our design and of this fascinating footage for you. I hope you enjoy it from the Navy SEALs.
Scientists made a major breakthrough in fear research when they found that information from our senses reaches the amygdala almost twice as fast as it takes to get to our frontal lobes. The speed of the different brain signals means unless we instinctively know how to react to a potential threat, we may freeze in fear, waiting for the frontal lobes to catch up to figure out the right response.
One of the purposes of the routine itself is to develop instinctive responses to the enemy's tactics in our life.
With demand for special forces increasing, the Navy continues to develop brain training techniques to see if they can improve the pass rate. But there are some fears that scientists believe are pre-programmed into our brains. Primal fears, or super fears, that few people can overcome. The Navy makes its trainees tackle these head-on. It's why their most dreaded exercise happens underwater, as recruits face the fear of drowning.
There's almost nothing more scary than not being able to breathe.
I feel fine.
Few SEAL candidates succeed at pool comp the first time. They get 4 attempts, and there's more at stake with each try.
The most common reason for failing pool comp is panic, losing composure underwater. Some of our students, that's it. We will performance drop them from training.
The Navy wanted to help borderline candidates who had the potential to pass these crucial phases in training. After consulting with experts, they came up with a groundbreaking mental toughness program, a set of techniques to boost the trainees' ability to control fear, even in the most extreme situations.
You guys need to stay fired up while you're out there. The pain, the cold, and all that stuff. It's gonna eat away at you, but you got to keep going.
The techniques that we were most interested in are what I call the big 4: goal setting, mental rehearsal, self-talk, and arousal control.
Scientists think goal setting works by assisting the frontal lobes. As the brain's supervisor, the frontal lobes are responsible for reasoning and planning. Concentrating on specific goals lets the brain bring structure to chaos and keeps the amygdala, the emotional center of the brain, in check.
I got up every morning and I said, I'm going to make it to breakfast. And then at breakfast, I said, okay, I'm going to make it to lunch. And then I'm going to make it through the run this afternoon. And then, you take it in these little sort of chunks.
The second technique, mental rehearsal or visualization, is continually running through an activity in your mind. So when you try it for real, it comes more naturally.
If you practice in your mind first and imagine and rehearse how you might do in these stressful situations, the next time in reality you're faced with these situations is actually, in effect, the second time you faced it. So you'll have less of a stressful reaction.
The third technique, self-talk, helps focus the trainee's thoughts. The average person speaks to themselves at a rate of 300 to 1,000 words a minute. If these words are positive instead of negative, can do instead of can't, they help override the fear signal coming from the amygdala.
The frontal lobes are always on, so it's very easy to think about something difficult, something bad, like I'm going to fail. What am I doing here? I didn't practice enough. What you're trying to do is you're trying to replace those bad thoughts with good thoughts.
The final technique, arousal control, is centered on breathing. Deliberate, slow breathing helps combat some of the effects of panic. Long exhales, in particular, mimic the body's relaxation process and get more oxygen to the brain so it can perform better.
Breathing is a great focusing strategy, but you can only do it so much because in a response to fear, your brain will get jacked up.
On its own, arousal control wouldn't work. The amygdala sends out such a powerful signal, it's tough to suppress if we're still feeling fearful. But combining the 4 techniques made a big difference to the trainee SEAL's pass rate, increasing it from 1/4 to 1/3. The idea of pushing boundaries may not be new, but here is positive proof that you can train your brain, and now science knows how.
I've never told you this before, but I believe that one of the reasons that the Lord has you here is because he wants you in his special forces. I mean, it's a really high calling, and the world is certainly not calling you to it. Church isn't calling you to it. There's nothing in the Bible that's specific about having a strong morning routine. But spending that time every day with him, you know there's a reason he's calling you to that. And his purposes are really glorious. And there's always, always blessing on the other side of obedience. So I hope that you will remain focused with me.
Next time you feel that fear, that sense of not being able to breathe come up again,
How do you believe that God has equipped you with goals, mental rehearsal, self-talk, and arousal control techniques?
Ephesians 6:12 says, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the powers, against the world forces of this darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly places."
The evil one disguises himself as an angel of light. And for these Navy SEALs, all they wanted, what did they want more than anything else? Just a breath of air, something so simple. And they knew that if they went to the surface, they could get that. But they also knew that if they gave into that temptation, instead of passing the test, that they would fail the test.
He disguises himself as something that looks really good. I mean, we're not talking about some ugly man. We're talking about a good-looking fellow, okay? If you were to see him in person. We need to be careful of stuff like this because, as she says on page 45 here, the false ideologies of our culture, like obsession with appearance, perceptions of worth, the redefinition of family, all of it, have not been developed by chance. Don't believe it for a second. The temptations that appeal to your specific desires and the fact that they appear at your weakest, most vulnerable moments are not accidental. The disharmony and dysfunction that either blow up or simmer beneath your most valuable relationships are not coincidental. None of these things is a matter of happenstance. They are his deceptive tactics and that of his evil entourage, being stirred up in the heavenly realm and then manifesting themselves in the physical realm. If you haven't yet checked out The Armor of God, which is a Bible study by Priscilla Shirer that we made free with ambitious Christian women, then check it out, because you're gonna learn all of the real tools to fight the enemy in your life. We're not just cowering at him and focusing at how big and scary he is. We're learning the spiritual things we've been equipped with to fight the enemy in an effective way that works in the spiritual realm. Lift your eyes to Jesus, Priscilla says, who has always known who the real enemy is and who knows this so-called enemy doesn't have a pinky's worth of power against the one who clipped that imposter's wings on Calvary. And because he did, Satan doesn't stand a real chance against you now, not after that. So ladies, today your prompt is to pull back the curtain with me. What's one area of fear in your life that you just feel like your whole breathing apparatus is being ripped off of you? Tell us. This is a safe place. What scripture are you going to go to? What prayer are you going to pray that is going to not only shield you, but also deflect those fiery darts of the enemy? I can't wait to see your faith increasing, your vitality increasing, and your focus to get off of the things that are scaring you and onto the one who is truly victorious above all, and that is Jesus Christ. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this, and I can't wait to see you next time on the Morning Miracles Challenge.